Hello and welcome to Eternal Durdles. I'm your host, Zach Clark, and with me as always, not with me as always, with me this week is Jake Arthurs from the Cantrip Cartel.
Yep, I am Jake. I'm with Cantrip Cartel. As we discussed earlier, as soon as it's not Phil Blackman, the whole thing goes off the rails.
Man, yeah, it's always, I have a script. I'm sticking to that script every time.
Yeah. No matter what, I can be Phil. My parodies will not be nearly as good. I promise.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what you get when you get Phil is weird parodies.
Yep.
Yeah. So this week, first off, let's talk about Cantrip Cartel. Tell the audience about your podcast, where you're coming from here.
So Cantrip Cartel is a podcast I host with my friend Matt. We put out an episode every week, and we cover everything Legacy and Modern that's relevant in terms of like competitive play. So we hit the top 8s of any relevant challenge or showcase, and we've been dipping into Pioneer lately just to try and throw some love to a format that saw no love until Wizards forced us to care about it with the Pro Tour.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully the Pro Tour is back, and I don't even, I did a lot of playing of Pioneer before the pandemic because it was one of the locals was doing Pioneer, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I'll play, this version of Splinter Twin that plays Thassa's Oracle. Sure. A couple of mono red decks, a couple mono black deck, a couple of weird combo decks that I could, you could scrounge that format together for just a couple of bucks. So I thought it was a great format that had a chance to shine, but the pandemic happened and people, had no real way to play it.
Yeah, it literally, like on paper, you couldn't have designed a format to fail more spectacularly than have the entire world shut down approximately 6 months after it comes out.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be like 2020 was supposed to be the year of Pioneer, I think, and we had like 4 or 5 Grand Prix, maybe more than that. Like everything was set up for that format to be like a premier. Like this is a new format that's going to basically overtake Modern, and it just no.
I believe they even had Pioneer Masters scheduled and then canned it because there's one of those things like they were going heavy into it, and then it fell through. No one played it because you couldn't play anything in paper, and then just like it overnight, like, hey guys, it matters again.
Yeah.
So I got into it. I picked up the Lotus Field deck because I played Lotus Field in Modern some, and it's tons.
Did you pick up the Challenger deck?
Exactly what I did.
Wow, like $30 for like a ready to play deck, basically. Yeah. Like you don't even have to upgrade it that much.
No, it's out of the box, good to go. There's several. Like the Blue Spirits is also like out of the box. It's almost the tier 1 deck you see coming in like first place in challenges. And that's the best thing about the format. Matt and I have been watching it for a couple weeks now pretty intensely. And, I think every color has a monocolor deck that's like top tier. So
you don't need to spend $1,000 on a mana base. And because there's no fetch lands, you don't need to spend $1,000 on a mana base anyhow. Yeah. So that helps.
It's pretty awesome.
But obviously we're not here to talk about pre-modern. We could talk about pre-modern, but no, we're obviously not here to talk about Pioneer. We're here to talk about the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate cards that have been spoiled. We've got a few of them, and I don't think that a lot of them are necessarily legacy playable, but we can talk about some of the themes that set is offering and how some of these cards may be able to see play in the format. So I want to start with talking about the Initiative and the Undercity, mostly because just to get people's heads around what that is, because
I have no clue.
Dungeons are obviously not that popular in Legacy because they're pretty low. They're very incremental like gains that you get from them, and it takes a very long time to go through them. And it's just not something we're really doing in Legacy. But one thing we are doing in Legacy is playing with Monarch. And this has a lot of the shades of Monarch to me. So the way that this works is I'll pop up the, I guess it's over here, the Undercity card. The Undercity card is, if you compare this to the other dungeons, the Undercity card's pretty powerful. It starts by putting a land in your hand, which is fine. When you enter the Undercity, go get a basic land and put it into your hand. Great, you've gained a card. Not the biggest thing in the world. But then the next thing that happens is you can either put 2 counters on a creature, which is a lot, especially in Legacy. If you have a 5/4 Delver of Secrets coming across. It's not nothing.
Ugh.
And then Lost Well, which is Scry 2. So that's also pretty good, just for the first two enter the dungeons, right? Or venture into the Undercity.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got Trap, which does 5 damage to a player, lose 5 life, which is even better. Goat a creature. Goat is unplayable in Legacy, or create a treasure token, which is fine. We'll probably, depending on whether or not you're trying to put counters on creatures or scrying 2, you'll either choose Trap or Stash. And then you're looking at Archives, which is draw a card, or Catacombs, which is to create a 3/1 black skeleton creature with Menace, which is also pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final thing is reveal the top 10 cards of your library, put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield, give it 3 +1/+1 counters and hexproof until the beginning of your next turn. That's pretty huge. I don't know how good it is necessarily in Legacy. But looking at the top 10 cards and just slamming like an 18 Emrakul seems fine.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about this is like we're looking for cards that offer the initiative that get you into the Undercity to use these abilities that are cost like efficiently for Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen any of those just yet, but I think the other thing we need to talk about is the initiative and how that works.
Mm-hmm.
So up here, the initiative is basically like the Monarch, wherein when you hit a player, so when you get a card gives you the initiative, now one player has the initiative, just like one player has Monarch. And then when you hit a player in combat, you take the initiative, and you can take the initiative even if you already have the initiative. And so then whenever you take the initiative, and at the beginning of each of your upkeeps, you venture into the Undercity. And that's the only way you can get into the Undercity. So it either does you enter the Undercity, travel like one more stage in the Undercity, or if you're already in a dungeon, you go to the next stage of that dungeon. So there's a lot of play there in that, like you're already getting these incremental abilities. None of them are obviously as good to start with at the base as like the Monarchs just draw a card, but because you're getting this during your upkeep and when a creature hits, that also I think includes double strike, right? Deals combat damage to you. That player takes initiative. If
it's a damage trigger, that'd be each time a double striker hits.
So whenever it won't work that way, only because it says whenever one or more creatures a player controls deals combat damage to you, that player takes the initiative. So you would already have the initiative when that happened for the double strike. Either way, you can basically trigger this twice a turn, and if you happen to be playing other dungeon cards that venture into dungeons or take the initiative, you can speed run through this dungeon, which is again like I play Sephiroth in EDH, which is a dungeon based reanimator deck, and the abilities are relatively not great for the dungeons, and you can get through them pretty, at different rates. Like you can get through Tomb of Annihilations in 3 moves, if you really want to, but you're gonna have to sacrifice a lot of stuff. Lost Mines of Phandelver is kind of the go-to, and that can be done in 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which has a pretty ridiculous payout at the end. But these are all things where, like, if you're playing 7 cards to do what happens at the end of the payoff for the rest of those cards better be pretty good.
At that point, we're approaching like it kind of needs to end the game.
Yeah,
I mean, think about how many decks in Legacy we're ending the game with like 3 cards, ideally 2, and this is like I've put my 7 cards into this and I get to draw 3.
Yeah, the only way you can do that otherwise, like if you're playing like a real control, like a real grinder deck, like Death and Taxes, I suppose, does that to an extent, but there's not a lot of decks that are just trying to like slam their win condition and then wait 6 turns, right?
Not anymore.
No, yeah. So you really have to be able to get incremental value out of these cards as you play. There's got to be a card that's like 1 or 2 mana to play, get the initiative, and then get that going, and then have ways in your deck to make sure that your opponent isn't getting it and doing their own thing too. Spoiler alert, bring an extra Undercity to any tournament if you're taking the initiative, right? Because your opponent can get it.
Like you said, it's very much like Monarch. So as soon as they crack back, they're taking the initiative and they're getting to start. Oof, that's scary. That's risky.
Yeah, it's very risky. So I guess So now that we understand that what the initiative is and the Undercity and everything, let's talk about. So I guess the first thing we should do is talk about the commander cards that got spoiled for the set. We're using Mythic Spoiler and going all the way down to May 13th here. And let's just go over them real fast and talk about what they do, and then we'll pick out other cards that are a little bit more that we can kind of see some potential in.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so let's talk about Nylia Diarnase. I'm gonna butcher that for sure. Anyhow, she is a 3 mana that's 1 white and a black for a 3/3 legendary human rogue. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, and it says you may cast a cleric, rogue, or warrior spells from the top of your library. So you can look at the top of your deck and cast cleric, rogue, warrior, and wizard spells. And then it says at the beginning of each combat on your turn, if you have a full party, that's all 4 of those classes, you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and those creatures gain Death Touch.
I saw this and I ran through my head of like the closest thing you could probably do with this, some kind of like a human's variant.
Yeah.
Because I don't really see, other than, I mean, if you want to slam this in your Delver deck, because you do have some pretty good wizards in there.
Yeah.
But I like if your biggest payoff is you get to top deck a Delver into play on turn 4. I don't know if that's what we're going for.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see this as a build around card for Legacy by any stretch of the imagination. It doesn't even if you're getting that, the hoops you have to jump through in deck building are a lot. So I think that's one of those, like, unless like shapeshifters become a big thing and you can fix your loadout that way. All right, so the next one is Faldorn Dreadwolf Herald. This is another 3 mana 3/3. That's 1 a green and a red for a human druid, and it's whenever you cast a spell from exile or a land enters the battlefield from under your control from exile, create a 2/2 wolf creature token. Then it has the ability 1 and tap, discard a card, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn.
I saw this, and like the clear synergies, if you can get this with the biggest place we're playing our lands from exile is going to be Expressive Iteration. And like that card could you imagine if Expressive Iteration just red make a 2/2 at the end of it?
Yeah, I mean, might as well, right? It's already good enough.
So right, that's what I was thinking. But like, so what are better way? Like, is there any other way we can get like these triggers other than like Expressive or itself? Because I couldn't really come with like a nice sleek way.
Well, what about Currency Converter? Right, Currency Converter.
I heard about that on a podcast I listened to. They told me to
buy your currency converters now.
Yes. I believe the phrase was convert your currency into currency converters.
Yes. Let's look up Currency Converter real fast just to double check. There we go. I just want to get a full-on arena, a full-on gather version of what this card does. Okay, whenever you discard a card, you may exile that card from your graveyard. Then you can tap 2, draw and discard a card. It says put in a card exiled with Currency Converter into your graveyard. So that's not going to do it, unfortunately, because it's going into your graveyard, and it's just it's not gonna. It doesn't let you cast it or play it. So that's not gonna. That's not.
Yeah.
Good. The only other thing I can think of is Expressive Iteration. Obviously, a 3 mana 3/3 isn't the worst, but it is bolt bait, so that's not like exactly where you want to be. This might be something like Rug Delver tries to play as like a more mid-rangey kind of thing to get a little bit more value out of your Expressive Iterations, but I don't know. I mean, exiling the top card of your library, you may play this turn. The fact that it has to tap to do that too is kind of a bummer, but it is a great way. It is a 1 card army after a while if you're playing against a control deck. So I could see throwing one of these in the sideboard just to see how things go.
Yeah, it could definitely
be in lands. Playing if there's a a Gruul lands deck, you can throw that into the board and just make value.
Yeah, like that, a top end, just end game threat where once the game has ground to a halt, I mean, I'm effectively drawing 2 cards a turn. I'm getting more resources. And it's got potential there as like I said, end game, nothing better to do. It's just like,
I mean, imagine hitting expressive iteration like with the exile, casting expressive iteration, and then playing something from exile off of the expressive iteration. That's a lot of mana, but still, like, you know, that's 2 wolves.
That's also a lot of power on the board for your draw for 2 mana.
Yeah. All right, so we go with the next one, which is Captain Nagrothrod. We'll go with that, Captain Nagrothrod.
Sure, yeah.
This is a 5 mana. That's 3, a blue and a black for a legendary horror pirate. Horrors you control have menace. Whenever a horror you control deals combat damage to a player, that player mills that many cards. Okay. And then at the beginning of your end step, choose target artifact or creature card in your opponent's graveyard that was put there from their library this turn, and put that onto the battlefield under your control. I don't see this card hitting Legacy by any stretch. 5 mana is a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously. And
you mispronounced unplayable.
Yeah, I think exactly. Yeah.
But so
yeah.
That's one of those, like the high roll and the power is there. I think the cost is just too high. And so for this to see play, you either needs to slot into a deck that already exists, which, I mean, like you said, Changeling or a Horde deck could come into existence, or it's got to find some way to get that cost down.
Yeah.
Because the ceiling is there, and like high ceilings are important, but we also need to be able to get there, unfortunately. And the floor is pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, is like the things you would want to mill your opponent with, right? Like if you get this down, like what would you want to get from your opponent? A Grizzlebrand? If your opponent hasn't beat you by turn 5 with a Grizzlebrand, they're not beating you.
Yes. Like, that's
you getting the Grizzlebrand is icing on the cake, right?
If you can get your reanimator player, or your, like, cause show and tell, maybe if you can get them to where you're dumping 5 mana into a thing and it resolves, I feel like you might have won the game already.
Yeah, the only other thing I can think of is like you stifle the shuffle trigger for the Emrakul, and then at the end step you put this you put Emrakul onto the battlefield.
So what you're saying is Stifle Knot's got another tool.
Yes. Well, I mean, it is a blue-black deck, right? Lazav Knot, right? And Lazav wants things in graveyards, but I think it's your graveyard for Lazav. Anyhow, let's go to Furkrag, Cunning Investigator, another 5 mana legend that is 3 blue and a red, legendary dragon, flying in haste, 3/3. Whenever one or more dragons you control attacks an opponent, goad target. Let's stop right there. Goad is not a thing that we were going to want to be playing in Legacy. Let's see. Whenever creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, if that creature had to attack this combat, put a +1/+1 counter on. Yeah, no. Next.
Yeah, no. Yep. What else we got?
All right, you have a couple of choice cards, right?
Yeah, they're not quite in order. I kind of pulled them aside and put them in a file.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm going to start strong. I think a card that like I brewed a deck around this already. I think it's super cool. It's Abdel Adrian Gorian's Ward. So it's 4 and a white for a 4/4. This is, if you've been watching spoilers, people have talked about it as soon as it came out. This was the new better Wargorger Dragon. So for 5 mana, you get a white 4/4. When he enters the battlefield, you exile any number of other non-land permanents you control until he leaves the battlefield, and you create a 1/1 white soldier token for each permanent exiled this way. And then you get to choose a background, which I don't think any of the backgrounds even have text in Legacy.
No, because they're not. You don't have any commanders, so there's no.
Yeah, so you don't get because choosing a background, you get to put it next to your commander in the command zone, and we're not doing that. But so the Wargorger Dragon deck, which has one of the most fervent followings of anyone on the internet, I lived there for a year or two when I was building Wargorger. This is like a better Wargorger because it goes infinite with Animate Dead already, and so I've been brewing up like you can put a card draw spell, a way to draw cards on the board. That's how Wargorger usually wins. It makes infinite mana because it bounces your lands. You're drawing your entire deck, and you're winning with some kind of 500 mana kill you. But this allows you to just exile the Animate Dead, make a 1/1, and that keeps the loop going because the Animate Dead leaves, he gets sacrificed. When he leaves, the Animate Dead comes back. you bring him back, you re-exile the Animate Dead, and you just kind of run the loop. And so you have, for essentially the 2 mana of the Animate Dead, infinite 1/1s.
Yeah.
So that's obviously an untapped win, almost certainly. And then I've been brewing up a list where I want to run like Baleful Strix and Ice-Fang Coatl and Concordant Crossroads, and turn through the deck, slam a Concordant Crossroads, swing for 500. That's my, like, I think this deck, this is a really cool card that, like, if Woodgorger Dragon can see play, which it can as like a tier 3.5 deck, this can see play.
Yeah, I mean, and you can cast this, you know.
Yes, it is castable, and
not that you want to necessarily, but like, you can cast it.
So Woodgorger Dragon has a really low floor in that when the combo gets interrupted, you just lose because you've lost all your permanents. With this, you don't lose anything. Even if the combo, if it gets interrupted, so you get to keep playing the game. And like, so like my list, I'm running 2 or 3 of them because you can totally like go for it, get it unsummoned, get it killed, and just reset.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the weaknesses of Woodgorger Dragon is, you know, you need your Woodgorger to survive and your Animate Dead to survive and your graveyard to survive all at the same time.
It's a lot. There's a lot of holes in that plot, as I like to say. You know, it's very easy for someone to just stop your deck, and then for you to be like, well, I guess we'll just go to game 2. Oh, you have interaction in your sideboard. This is a problem. So this gives a little bit of resiliency to that style of deck.
Yeah. So as far as the bad cards go, I think this is one of the better ones.
Shout out to Lulu Loyal Holophant. Phil gets his Elephant Angel.
Yes, I saw that.
It's not good, but it
does exist.
It exists. Yeah. So let's see. What else you got? You've got other.
So like I saw like there's some cool ones along that line. So like I saw Baba Yaga, the Night Witch. I don't know if you saw this. It's 1 black-green for a 3/3. You can tap it to sacrifice 3 permanents, and if they were 3 or more card type sacrifice this way, you lose 3, your opponent loses 3, you gain 3, and draw 3 cards. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because any card that says do a thing, draw 3 cards is something we should look at in Legacy.
Yeah.
But like this again, it's one of those like, this is a lot of setup. This is a really end game solution. But if you could pair this with some of your like Ichor Wellsprings, like your sacrifice, draw some cards, if you get some value out of these cards leaving, maybe you can make it work.
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those things. I saw draw 3 cards and I'm like, well, I have to look at this to make sure it's not a thing.
Sorry, my dog is attacking me right now.
Oh, that's totally fine.
All right, Bub, come on, get down. You gotta go outside. Sorry, like that. Sorry, everybody.
I'm sure they enjoyed having something cute to look at.
Yeah. So I think it's a real cool card, and I think again we're in that like weird 3 mana 3/3 range where it's like, you know, it's possibly bolt bait, but it's got a lot of cool stuff going on with it, and it's like one of those cards where like, sure, put in Nick Fit, right?
Of course, yeah, of course. We're already living in Magical Christmas land because they didn't have Bolt, they don't have Daze, they don't have Force of Will. Yeah, of course, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Who knows how long Daze is left on the before it hits Jogging Block.
As soon as Daze gets banned, now all of these clunky 3-drops are still unplayable, but slightly less so.
Yeah. All right, what else you got?
What else did I got? So this one it's talking about 3-drops that die to Bolt. Gale, Waterdeep Prodigy. So 2 and a blue for a 1/3. This is one like, again, he probably has the highest ceiling for just a standard deck if you can make him work, because whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, you may cast up to 1 target card of the other type from your graveyard. And if it was cast this way from your graveyard, or if it would be put in your graveyard, you exile instead. So basically your Brainstorm also casts Ponder, and your Ponder also casts Brainstorm from the yard.
Yeah.
So
and your Bolt also casts Chain Lightning.
Your Bolt cast Chain Lightning, your Bolt cast Ponder. This is very Dreadhorde Arcanist like, where we're getting to like recur those cards from the graveyard, and that was obviously proven to be pretty good. But this is 3, it's not 2. It's also a 1/3, but it also loses to Pyroblast, which is in like 60% of decks these days.
It doesn't have, we can overload our opponent on blue permanents with this card too, though. We already have Murktide, Delver. You know, if you add Gale to the mix, it gets to a point where they have to start respecting that you're gonna just slam a Murktide after like they kill their Gale.
Exactly,
they kill your Gale. Gale's a cool character because he's in the Baldur's Gate 3 game as like your wizard companion.
Oh.
And it doesn't come across in his design, but he has to eat magical items or he dies.
What?
Yeah, he's got some sort of weird, like his curse. He's cursed beyond like this is a character who has like a mind flayer in his head already, tadpole in his head. And on top of that, he's like weirdly cursed to like need to eat magic items, and like he wants you to keep it a secret too.
Dude, how bad is your day going?
Yeah, like
on top of you have this really weird, obscure, and expensive curse.
Yeah, it's an expensive curse.
You also have a mind flare stuck in your head.
If anybody's ever worked with there's a couple different kinds of DMs, right? I grew up playing as the dungeon master from the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon from the 80s, where like everybody just started out with magic items because that was cool and fun. And then as I grew older, I was like, it's way more fun to make people earn those things and like they feel like a sense of accomplishment, whatnot. I say all that to say this: if the older version of me DM'd a campaign where your character got this, your character's gonna die like pretty soon. Because like I don't give out magic items like at that rate.
Yeah.
You know,
even kind of crappy ones.
Yeah, the games do. The games love to give out like random magical items. You get to a point in the late game where you like, another +3 sword. This is BS. I don't need this. You're like,
oh my gosh.
You're like, I can't carry all these +3 weapons.
Don't worry, Gale. I found you lunch in the dungeon.
Yeah, I'm full out. Yeah, it's like the only good thing about it is you have some use for your extra like +2 dagger that you're like, none of my guys want to use a dagger.
Man, could you imagine sitting in the meeting and being like, okay, we're designing a game, we're making Baldur's Gate 3. So one of the problems with looters is you always end up having too much stuff by the end of it. What are we going to do? How are we going to mitigate these characters having all this loot? I know. We'll make a dude that eats it.
We'll make like basically like kind of an Oscar the Grouch character where he has to like eat magic items.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What a funny solution.
Yeah. Okay, what's next?
So this is another one. I want to say I saw you guys call this when it came out. This is one of the first cards that got spoiled forever ago, but Minsc and Boo, Timeless Heroes. Yeah. And I remember I looked over this. I'm pretty sure I heard you guys talking about it, and you just said it, and I was like, whoa, that is kind of good. So 2 red, green for a 3 loyalty planeswalker. When Minsc and Boo, Timeless Heroes, enter the battlefield, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may create Boo, a legendary 1/1 red hamster creature token with trample and haste. +1, put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature with trample or haste. And -2, sacrifice a creature. When you do, Minsc and Boo, Timeless Heroes deal X damage to any target where X is that creature's power. If the sacrificed creature was a hamster, draw X cards, and it can be your commander, which doesn't matter for this.
This card is bonkers.
This is really good.
Like, if you get it out, it protects itself. So that's what every planeswalker, you want something that protects itself. It protects itself with a 4/4.
Yes.
Right? That you can sack, kill something else, and draw 4 cards with the next turn.
Yes. It's crazy.
Insane.
And that's just like the bottom where it makes a 4/4. It also could make whatever you care about way bigger. I guess I'm not. It has to have the keywords, doesn't it?
Trample or haste.
Okay, never mind that. But, it just makes a 4/4, like a 4-mana 4/4 trample, or 4-mana 4/4 haste that you could then next turn sack and draw for is already a pretty good card. Yeah. Now let's just do it every couple turns.
It just and the fact that it just like boom, Boo comes back every turn. Yep. Like after that you sack him. The next turn you just repeat the process. Even if you only do that twice, you've drawn 8 cards. Dealt 8 damage to random stuff.
Yeah,
it's
this
very
is
good.
Strong. Yeah. And again, 4 mana is going to be hard to get out, but it's not blue, so it doesn't die to blast. It's going to be very hard to remove. Prismatic Ending is almost never going to touch this. There's very little in the format that's going to actually take care of this once you get it on the field, other than attacking.
Imagine if you just decide that you want to make a 7/7 instead of sacking it to draw cards, and then the next turn you want to deal 7 damage like you can attack with this thing too. Like if the creature doesn't die, like you're just attacking, you attack your opponent, you deal him 4 damage with the creature, sack Boo, he takes another 4 damage, you draw 4 cards. That is a ridiculous rate. Like
that's that when you're sitting across from that, like unless you're playing like a combo deck, you sit down and go, wow, I just lost this game.
Yeah, there's no way there's no way that you're gonna be able to deal. Like the only thing this doesn't do is gain you life.
Oh yeah, darn.
You know, that's it. Like you've got a sizable threat that it creates, and it's 2 targets. If they deal with Boo, he's gonna come back. You know, it's just it's too good. This card's great. I don't know if it has a home, but it's very good, and I don't see why if a deck wanted to run green and red and was more mid-rangey style deck, I wouldn't want to play that.
Yeah, this card was bonkers. And I totally missed it the day it came out. And then everyone else was like, this card's amazing. And I was like, oh wow, it is really good actually. Yeah. It's really good. That's like, I've got a couple other ones that I picked out that are like kind of cool, but like those are the only ones I pulled out that are kind of any. One of them that I think is funny, Furbolg Flautist it doesn't matter what it is. It's a giant bard. Yeah, and I like that's just hilarious to me. It's this giant, it's a huge person running around with I'm guessing a flute the size of a log, singing tunes.
Oh man, I didn't even see that. Yeah,
it's just silly. It's just silly. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I didn't see anything else I thought was like good.
I mean, I like Elminster. I guess we should explain what Elminster is. He is a 5 mana again. Green, white, blue, and 3 colorless mana. Whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast costs X less, where X is the number of cards you looked at during scrying, which is pretty interesting. Then he's a 5 loyalty. His +2 is draw a card, then scry 2. And then his -3 is exile the top card of your library, create X 1/1 blue fairy dragon creatures, where X is the converted mana cost of the card that you exiled. So, you know, you basically get to play with the top of your deck and then like make an army.
Yeah, and definitely in Legacy, I mean, there's no format better at manipulating the top than Legacy. So like things like a Scion of Draco or an Emrakul, and just we're quickly approaching.
Even just like, oh, there's an Elminster on top of my deck. I guess I'll exile that and make 5 1/1s that now my opponent has to deal with those. Look, I still don't think that this card is better than the Wandering Emperor, because the Wandering Emperor has flash and gets to be used that turn. But this is an interesting effect. Does it replace Jace? I don't think so. Not yet.
No. No.
I mean, I think replacing Jace would be too much for this. But you know, maybe I don't know what this card's going to cost. It might be a budget version of a card that you could try. Yeah. In your blue-white miracle style deck. If you don't want to spend $50 or $70 on Jace or the Wandering Emperor.
It definitely has excellent Friday Night Magic potential, where like you're going just to slam some decks at Friday Night Magic, play a couple rounds, maybe bust out Elminster, see if you can, like you said, play him. The sequence could totally work where you ponder, you put Elminster 2 from the bottom, then next turn you play Elminster, you play your other Elminster, mill the other one away, make some blockers, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that like if you get this down, obviously the Wandering Emperor doesn't get hit by Pyroblast, which is a huge thing in its favor. If you get this down and your opponent does get to Pyroblast it later, like you still are probably you're probably getting a card off it at least, right? And scrying too, which is worth something. Or he gets to it a couple turns later and you have an army of 1/1s that he's got to deal with, or he can't at least attack through them, So it's an interesting card. I don't think like it's super like, go buy these. It's not currency converter.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting card to check out. What else did I see? I'm happy they're putting Wayfarer's Bauble back out again. That reprint, but that's a EDH situation. I'm super happy about Nemesis Phoenix because I'm trying to build a Cyrix deck for EDH, which is honestly not very good, but like probably going to be fun to play. What other cards? The John Arenicus Shattered one. Arenicus. John Arenicus Shattered one. I bet it's Jan.
Yeah,
anyhow, that is a elf wizard for 2, a black and a blue. He's a 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent gains control of up to there we go.
okay.
Yeah, there we go. Of up to 1 target creature you control, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. It's goaded for the rest of the game and gains. This creature can't be sacrificed.
Oh, darn.
So, wow, that's so much.
Yeah.
That's a lot of text. I don't think you'd want to do this. Like, what would you get? Like, Hellcarver Demon? You know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Goaded again just doesn't matter in this format. There's a lot of goad stuff in this set. There's Baldur's Gate that makes gates like a possible thing, but I don't think that's going to be in Legacy.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think I don't remember they put it on this one, but one of my Discords put that up, and I was like, how long before people admit this isn't going to work? Because there's going to be a lot of people trying to force gates.
People just trying to play the Maze's End deck, I guess. It just there's better ways to end the game with lands in this format, right?
Yeah. Well, in fairness, though, not for this cheap financially.
Yes, this is true.
I guess that's true.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad if I saw it. I love it when a weird deck gets played against me. You know, I'm always just like, okay, well, I don't know what you're doing. I hope it works. And then I'm like, okay, Days, I hope that's good enough because I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, I mean, I've been beaten by a guy who played Whisperwood Elemental. He slammed it down against me. I was playing Rug, and I was like, I don't have anything I can do about a 4/4 that makes a 2/2 at the end of every turn.
It's like, you might not be as bad as me, but like I live in the top 8s and I live in the showcases. So like I try and build my decks for that. And then you hop into like a random league or just the free queue, and it's just like, yeah, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, I
was not
right
prepared.
now. I'm playing Death Shadow because I sold all my duels and slowly working to get my duels back, and 8 cast as well, which doesn't need any duels. But yeah, see, I never get mad when I see people trying to pull something off at the under $2,000 level of Legacy. I'm like, I feel you, man. I know how that is. Times are lean right now.
Yeah.
Here's a cool card that just got spoiled today. Alerando the Seer. That is a 4-mana 3/5. That is 2, a green and a blue. Legendary human shaman. It says tap to draw a card, then exile a card from your hand. Put a number of time counters on it equal to its mana value. It gains when the last time counter is removed from this card. If it's exiled, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If you cast a creature spell this way, it gains haste until the end of turn. Then, so that all happens. Then remove a time counter from each other card you own in exile.
Okay.
But they don't have suspend.
But so we're clearly going to be pairing this with all of the spells that, like all the suspend spells that have no mana cost.
Right. The weird thing to me, though, is that this doesn't actually have suspend. So like they only, those on the things that don't have suspend, they're only coming off if, you know, you use this ability. Because it's not going to happen during your it's not going to happen during your upkeep. Now, if you hit a suspend card with it, it has suspend, so those tokens will come off. So you could conceivably get 2 off a turn. Why would you? Why would you play with suspend cards? But
time counters don't remove them. I guess time counters aren't like a keyword.
No,
thing.
look at the card suspend is a great example.
Because it gains suspend. It gives it suspend.
Yeah, so I think that's an important. It says if it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend instead. So yeah, this card's weird because it doesn't give anything suspend, so you're not getting like 2 off a turn, but it does do it itself. It's just it's interesting. I don't see this getting any play, but it's a cool ability.
Yeah, that gets a lot worse than I thought it was.
Yeah, I wish it had haste because like 4 mana is a lot for this effect on like turn 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nate will be happy. They created another Mardu legend. Jan Jansen, Chaos Crafter. Legendary creature, Gnome Artificer. It's got haste, and it says tap to sacrifice an artifact to create 2 treasure tokens, or tap to sack a non-creature artifact to create 2 1/1 colorless construct tokens. I don't know that that's where I mean, if Nate were here, he'd be very upset about yet another Mardu card that just doesn't really cut it.
That isn't good. I mean, you do get to make 1 treasure into 2 treasures.
Yeah, or you can make one of your 2 guys. Like eventually, this card will get there, right? Because you continue to just like, I guess I'll make 2 treasures into.
Yep.
I'll make 1 construct into 2 treasures, and then make 1 treasure into 2 construct, and you'll keep doing that over and over again.
It's kind of the retrofitter foundry. Like it will grow if you give it time.
Yeah.
It just has the unfortunateness of dying to bolt.
Yes. Also, it is a 3/3. All right. Yeah, I don't see a ton of other like really great cards yet. We're very early in the set cycle. I tend to want to wait until the whole thing comes out to like kind of go over everything with a fine-tooth comb. But those are a couple of like really at least interesting mechanics, cool abilities and stuff that we're seeing in the new one. I think I don't know if you watched Jake and Joel Are Magic. I watched I don't know what the Wizards did, like a reveal for the set where they showed a lot of these cards. And Joel, I think, could be Jake, not positive, was doing it. And he basically said, I'm very whelmed by this set so far. Which that's how I feel so far. We haven't seen anything that I'm like, oh, this is gonna break the format, or this is a total role player, you know.
I'm happy about. I like seeing cool cards come in once in a while. I like seeing a really neat niche thing happen, but I don't want to see Ragavan printed again. Whelmed is a very good way to describe how I'm feeling looking at the set.
I am an octopus that is staying on the board.
Yes,
right now.
Exactly. Yeah. The only problem I have is how long it took me to read all these cards in preparation for the episode.
God. Yes, it's so much.
It feels like I'm back in high school and I've been given an assignment.
Right? Yeah, I feel like every time a card comes out, I'm like, okay, hold on, everybody stop.
Yep.
I
need 40 seconds to get through this thing.
I'm dyslexic too, so it's like it's even worse for me because I'll read a card 3 or 4 times before I really parse what it's saying. And then once I've got it, I'm like, that's locked in. I know what it is. Yep. But I mean, I told Nate when we first started doing the podcast together, I was like, don't make me read anything out loud. I can't. I'm straight up dyslexic. Like I've learned to get around it a bit since we started doing the cast, but it always takes me a couple of minutes just to like be like, okay. And especially if it strays out of the normal Magic wording somehow, that's every time.
What was that card last week that Phil was reading where it's like, when you cast a spell for each opponent, exile this spell, then for each opponent's permanent it's targeting, choose another permanent. It's like, geez, Louise.
Was that card? Oh, I remember it, and I was like, what is this?
It was one of the was it one of the 40k cards?
Oh yeah, maybe. No, it wasn't one of the 40k cards. It was the Commander Legend Baldur's Gate card, Zevlor. Zevlor, the Tiefling warrior that's in Grixis, that like day 0 errata. And it says, when you next cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single opponent or a single permanent an opponent controls, for each other opponent, choose a player or a permanent they control, copy the spell, and copy the targets of the chosen spell or I lost track of the plot during half of that wording. Anyhow, it's basically just like, if you cast a spell and it targets a player or permanent, then you can do the same thing and have it target another person's thing that's not this guy or them. And you can do that for each opponent. It's like, wow, there's got to be a better way to say that.
Yeah, that card just screams, you're going to be sitting down to draft this at your FNM, and someone next to you is going to play this and go, I don't know what to do. And you have to go, that's one of those, like, it just does this.
It is the dead ringer of this set. Have you ever read Dead Ringers? Oh man, I'm gonna. This is right up there with the like false cure test. Dead ringers. Let me read the text for you and see if you can parse this.
Okay.
It says destroy 2 target non-black creatures unless either one is a color the other isn't. They cannot be regenerated.
So they have to be black to start with.
No, non-black.
So they have to be non-black, and then they can't share a color.
Yep.
Is that what that's saying? So as long as they are both non-black and do not share any colors, you can kill both of them?
Yes.
That's the best way to say that?
2 target non-black creatures unless either one is a color the other isn't. No, I'm sorry. So it has to be like 2 green creatures that are only green. You know, it can't be like a green creature and a simic creature.
But it could be a simic and a simic.
It could be a simic and a simic, but it could be like, couldn't be like a Boros and a red creature, or a Boros and a Gruul creature. They have to be exactly the same colors.
They have to be the same color identity.
Like who decided that was a good idea to put that onto a Magic card?
My gosh.
Like that. I mean, I get it, because like that was Odyssey Apocalypse, and there were a lot of gold creatures. So like this really like it was a very like 5 mana draft sorcery kill spell where you're like, I hope I kill something.
Yeah. Oh, please play another creature. Please play another creature that is also the same colors exactly, so I can use this card that I drafted on, as round pack 3, pick 4.
Yeah, Dead Ringers. That's a card. So anyhow, Zevlor, the Zevlor L Exile. Man, I played D&D as a kid, and half these guys, like, I'm like, what is going on? Anyhow, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the rest of this set. I think it'll be cool. I think we'll get some really cool stuff. I'm looking forward to just being able to play like some different stuff in Commander too. I don't know if you play Commander or not.
Yeah.
I'm at like deck number 12.
Oh geez.
Yeah.
I stopped at like 5 or 6.
I just take them apart when I get bored with them and then build something new. But I've got the mana bases for everything, so I'm just like, okay, I can just do this and be done.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I might build like Garth the One Eye. I think that's my next one. Garth the One Eye with like gates, and make that like a deck.
I just hope the flavor stays. Dragons. Because like I do love Commander, and I love the flavor of it. And so like the original Commander set, even though it was pretty underpowered, there was just really cool flavor in it. And I really hope they stick with that and just keep bringing the flavor. Like the cards don't have to be super, super powerful, because they're not for Modern. They're not for Legacy. Like just keep them really interesting.
Do you think they're going to put another Jeweled Lotus style card in the set? Because right now, if it's a buy or sell as like the average Magic player, this is not I'm not buying
there's
thing right now for this. Like I don't see any card in here that I'm like, I need that,
Yeah, there's nothing that's like, it's hard because you have to convince people to crack packs. And so like there needs to be something either really valuable or at least like really desirable. And I haven't seen it yet.
We haven't seen the card that does that from the set.
I hope so. I hope the Elder Brain isn't the only thing pulling people to buy these packs.
No. All right. Well, I think that about does it for today. One quick thing I want to talk about is MoxField.com, our show sponsor. MoxField.com is a deck building website where you can go and build your Legacy decks, your Commander decks, Modern, you name it. They use Scryfield sourcing, so you can tag all your cards to say like whether or not you own them and stuff like that, or like be like, oh, I'm gonna mark all these cards as these are my cards I'm thinking about removing once I get enough money to buy dual lands or something like that. That sort of thing. On top of that, it works on your PC, it works on your Mac, it works on your phone. You don't need to have an app or anything. It just does everything automatically. And it's just one of the greatest resources out there for Magic players as far as deck building resources are concerned. I'm able to build a deck, even an EDH deck, in under like half an hour from my phone, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's so nice. I used to use, I won't say their name, but I used to use a different, very old looking service online that's free, and it's like what everyone used at the time. And then I was one of the people I was in a Discord with. They were like, "Oh, just shoot me a MoxField," and I was like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah.
So I used it once. Never going back.
I'm like the ultimate, like, I won't ever use a new thing guy. Like, I'll just use what I'm already using.
Yeah.
To the point where my friend Harry, who created the website, had to convince me to use his own website, and I was like kind of a dick about it.
What's that?
But
like,
once I started using it, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, just use MoxField, people. Use MoxField. There's a link below. Check it out. Anyhow, final note, I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Really appreciate you guys. You've been coming up with some really good ideas for our next episodes and stuff like that. You can support us at patreon.com/eternaldurdles. Yeah, so I think that's it for us this week.
Thanks. I would say thanks for having me on. I had a ton of fun, and it was super cool to get to come. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for showing up. I really appreciate it. It was a great last-minute grab. And everybody, check out Cantrip Cartel's podcast. You can find them. Where can you find them?
Pretty much everywhere. Like I try to Apple, Spotify, Google Cast. It's everywhere. If you want to, we're still using the anchor.fm/Cantrip Cartel. And if you want to ever reach out to us, it's just cantripcartel@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or talk to anybody about whatever dumb cards I brought up that people want to tell me are not good.
All right. Well, anyhow, Jake, it's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here.
Yeah. We'll see everybody next week. Later on.
See you guys.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out these videos for more content. Don't forget to check out our Patreon link to help support the channel. Hey.